Welcome to Scare Talk, a horror movie podcast for horror film reviews, ratings, rankings, and rumors. Now for your hosts, Danny, Joel, and Katrina.
Oh yeah! This is Scare Talk. I am Danny, and I'm here with Compton Katrina.
Okie dokie.
And we've got Josh and Joel.
Oh,
Hey guys, what's up? Josh
Yeah.
and Joel. Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
So
I
this
don't think that was
movie
a term they
takes
used
place
in the 80s.
Yeah.
yeah.
This movie takes place in the Los Angeles area, so that's why we got Compton Katrina.
Yeah.
Josh and Joel, that was just for fun.
Joshing around.
Yeah, just joshing. So we are finally here to watch MaXXXine.
Yes.
We are.
The
To review
trilogy
MaXXXine.
to watch. Yeah, well, we already watched it. Now we're finally here to talk about it. Joel, can you tell us who is a part of it?
I think I can do that real quick. So first off, we have Mia Goth. She is MaXXXine. I know. Crazy she's in this movie. She was in A Cure for Wellness, Suspiria, Infinity Pool, and she's going to be in the upcoming 2025 Frankenstein, as well as the 2025, maybe a little later, Blade that Marvel
I
is
didn't
doing.
know she was going to be in Blade.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just kind of a horror, superhero movie.
Yeah.
And then we've got Kevin Bacon. He was in Leave the World Behind. It was a Netflix movie a year ago, I think. A year or two ago. He was in 45 episodes, which is a whole series of The Following, which was that Kevin Williamson show that was supposed to have been the premise for Scream 3.
Yeah.
That didn't end up. It was a good show. I liked it. So it would have been a much better Scream 3 than we got. But he was in Hollow Man, and he is going to be in a 8-episode upcoming horror show called The Bondsman. So, yeah, I don't know if it's coming out this year or next year, but one of these 2 years. And then we've got Giancarlo Esposito. He is, I think, her manager in this movie. Pretty sure, like, agent. And he was in at least so far 10 episodes of The Boys, 26 episodes of Breaking Bad, and its prequel series Better Call Saul, 38 episodes. And he was in 40 episodes of Once Upon a Time, and most recently, movie-wise, he was in Abigail. So,
Oh yeah.
yeah, for a little bit. The beginning and the end.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. Do we have any writers or directors?
Oh, geez. We do. Hold on. My bad. It's not over with the actors.
Ty West,
Yes.
right?
We got the writer and director, Ty West. He wrote segment in VHS, the Second Honeymoon segment.
Okay.
Which I don't remember exactly which one that was.
Which VHS is it?
I know
the
which
first
one that
VHS.
was. I know it.
Was that the two?
Yeah, it's the couple. They're like
Yeah.
on a little vacation.
Oh,
Okay.
God.
I love that one
Yes.
actually. I remember
Girl.
I remember it now.
Yeah.
I liked
That's a good
it. He wrote In a Valley of Violence, which is an Ethan Hawke, John Travolta Western.
Oh,
Weird combination for a Western movie.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, I
Okay.
haven't either.
I could see him writing a Western, though.
Yeah, I can see
Mhm.
it.
Yeah. I think he may have even directed it, but I didn't put that one down there. He wrote The House of the Devil and The Sacrament.
Yeah.
And then we got directed by Ty West. I didn't put him on there for this. I just went into directed by and then what he directed next. but it's Ty West. And he directed 3 episodes of Them, TV show. Was it an Apple show or something? The horror show. He did a segment in the ABCs of Death, which is M for Miscarriage, which I think is a series where a movie. I think there's at least 2 of them that we should watch those.
Yeah, it's an anthology.
Yeah.
Okay, but M for Miscarriage. What does this mean?
Well, it's ABCs of Death, so he got M. His segment is M.
Oh, I thought you were
M
saying
for Miscarriage.
Okay, I thought you were saying that like it was rated M.
No. No.
I'm like
I
thought
never,
M was for mature, but okay.
I never rate these things. We directed Cabin Fever 2, Spring Fever.
Okay.
And I thought this was kind of interesting. Justin Timberlake, No Angels music video. So he just recently, I think it was a 2024.
Oh wow.
He's doing music videos now, I guess. It's just interesting little little side gig there.
I love it.
All right. So in 1980s Hollywood, adult film star and aspiring actress MaXXXine Minx finally gets her big break. But as a mysterious killer stalks the starlets of Hollywood, a trail of blood threatens to reveal her sinister past.
How did you say mysterious? Mysterious.
I know.
Mysterious. I don't know. She's a mysterious killer. So this movie has only been out for a little bit, but I imagine there is a number of reviews out there. So, Katrina, can you tell us what the audience and the critics are saying?
Yes. The tomato meter, there's only 162 reviews for the critics. And you've got 75%. So still fresh.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And audience score, they did a little better than that. They gave it a 78%.
Okay.
And then for IMDb, you've got a 7 out of 10.
Okay.
I think Rotten Tomatoes, A Quiet Place Part 2 or Day 1 did better, but I'm just...
For Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, I think one of them was like in the 80s.
Yeah. Yeah. And clearly they are wrong.
I'm just saying, I think it's interesting.
It is interesting.
Interesting, I guess.
All right. So, as usual, we will stay away from spoilers during this segment. And then, if you want to hear the spoiler talk with us, you go to patreon.com/scaretalk and you can become a member, 7 days free, and you can hear all of our extra spoiler thoughts. So, and also like and subscribe, comment what you thought of this film, and do that for all of our videos so that we can, get more attention.
Keep going.
Yeah. All right. So to this, we did a prediction episode for this. We reviewed both X and Pearl, which, if you guys didn't know, X came out a couple of years ago. It took place in the 70s. Few 20-somethings doing an adult film at a farm with an elderly couple, and it's a slasher.
Mm-hmm.
Then we've got Pearl, which is a prequel to from X and how she kind of went into her madness. And now we have MaXXXine, takes place in 1985 in Los Angeles. It's following the only survivor of X, MaXXXine.
Mm-hmm.
So what did you guys think? This was very highly anticipated. I think both of you had this at number 1.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely did.
Yeah, a lot of people were really excited about this one.
Yeah.
We've been counting this one down.
Yeah, I've been anticipating this since I think last year. I listed this as my number one favorite movie of the year.
I hadn't even seen it yet.
Oh yeah,
seen it yet, but it was a number one already. So I was so excited for this movie.
Yeah.
And it did not disappoint. Not at all.
Okay. So Joel, obviously you have. What would you say? You think it met the hopes, or where are you at with it?
So, mostly, yes, it did. I still, so if we were to like rank these movies, mine would be, I would have to have two different types of ranking for these, because there's a ranking that is like it's what I think is best to worst, but then there's also what's most rewatchable. Those are two different things completely for me. And so this honestly, on the rewatchability scale, this is probably number one. I think this is more rewatchable than X, and Pearl is the better movie of all three of them. It's just not as rewatch. It doesn't have as much of a rewatchability factor for me. But I could definitely rewatch this movie over and over again. I just love the 80s in general. I love when a movie or show it takes place in the 80s. I know people are getting tired of that, but I'm not.
Yeah, no getting tired of that. Yeah.
Personally. So yeah, I really enjoyed this movie a lot. My predictions were off. There was one thing I think that my prediction was like, I mean, it was mentioned in this one, so we'll talk about that in the spoiler section. But yeah, I really liked it. I really thought having big name stars in this movie was going to take away from this.
Right.
Because I mean, the first two, like, they had pretty, like, I mean, Mia Goth was the kind of, well, she was the biggest name in Pearl. And she was basically like almost the biggest name in X. But I mean, you had like Kevin Bacon in this. You had other like well-known actors in this one too. So I thought this was going to be like another like run-of-the-mill like A-list like kind of movie that would. I was afraid it was going to take away from the story itself, which it didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't think it. It added the acting necessary to pull off the story, but so yeah, I really liked it. I think Ty West, he's talking about this might be his like the third, the final in the trilogy, but he's also talking about how he has ideas for a fourth movie, which give us more of these movies. Give us another MaXXXine.
As long as the quality continues, right?
Quality,
and I don't think he's that kind of director who would not.
Who'd put out like a Quiet Place.
That's going to be the running battle for the rest of the year. So when it comes to the 80s, this movie's a little different with how it kind of captures the 80s because it's not in your face like a Stranger Things, or even Summer of '84, or some of those other 80s, set in the 80s types of films that we keep getting these days. Lisa Frankenstein, that was in the 80s.
Yeah.
And they're all about the bright colors, the just the fashion. It's very clear that it's in the 80s.
Yeah.
This one felt like a movie that was made in the 80s. And it took place in LA, and it was like a dirty 80s feel. It wasn't like this bright, everybody's happy, 80s type of movie. It was more of the like underbelly of Los Angeles and Hollywood and all of that, but it still felt like the 80s.
Yeah.
And the way it looked, the way it was filmed, it had like a graininess to it. It had it felt like an 80s movie, not a movie that took place in the 80s.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously it would have taken place in the 80s if it was an 80s movie, but it felt like you just put a VHS in, you know, like from the 80s, like a good like crime thriller slasher kind of, you know, elements to it from the 80s, but we just saw it in 2024. So really unique in that way.
Well, and it showed the other parts of the 80s that aren't as glamorous. The serial killer, like serial killers were huge in the 80s. Like, and so it showed like real life stuff that was happening. The like kind of griminess of Hollywood in the 80s, like and just of LA in general, like it just and I feel like even down to like the car that he was driving and like the, you know, the way that they, you know, they did good with not forgetting that this was an 80s movie. Yeah. Where I think sometimes like it's like, ooh, would that really be realistic for the 80s? But this, like, they did a great job at just making you feel like you were in those days.
Yeah. It was compared to and I completely the Quentin Tarantino film from a couple of years ago. With that kind of style, that feel to it. This definitely easily could have been a Quentin Tarantino movie.
Yeah.
It definitely has that feel. It I thought Kevin Bacon did amazing with his character. He was like a private detective. The way he acted, his, you know, his look, you know, how he dressed and everything, really like put you in that place too. And you know, the horror here is not, it's not big on the horror. It's there, you know, someone is going around killing people. Like it's, you know, it is there. There are some kills in it.
And there's some
and they're all pretty unique
stuff that we see.
The kills are, you know, definitely the horror element to the movie. It's not as straight horror as X. X is more of a straight slasher.
That's a slasher for sure.
Pearl is more of that like character study, you know, slower film. MaXXXine is more of an action crime thriller. With some really horrific kills. Thrown in there.
Well,
with the backdrop of the Night Stalker killer as well.
Yeah.
So that adds to it, of course.
Yeah, and I think that even being this like kind of cop crime investigation movie felt very like mid 80s too.
There was all kinds of movies like that. Back then.
So I think that really added to it really feeling like an 80s movie. And that's what I loved so much about Pearl too, was they captured that time frame and the way that it was filmed and the way that you felt it, the pace that they took, it all honored the time period that you're in. And I think this one, Ty West does an amazing job at that. Like I think each one has really honored the time period that they're in. And I love that.
X went, you know, in the 70s.
70s,
dirty Texas Chainsaw kind of feel to it.
When they stop at the gas station and feel that you're getting there and everything, and the look of the gas station and
there's a scene in Texas Chainsaw where they go to the gas station and you know, it's all creepy and stuff, and it was definitely paying homage to Texas Chainsaw all over it.
This whole trilogy was nothing but homages to just the times that these movies took place in, and I would love a 90s MaXXXine movie. Let's capture the 90s next.
I would love that too.
Or go with Pearl and
capture the 30s.
Another, my gosh, I totally thought of that. Like, get to see Pearl once she, like, when she meets her husband, and like get to see how her life developed, and what happened,
after he came home from the war and everything.
You
could pick up after Pearl.
He embraced her lifestyle because she was with her in X. So it's like, all right.
And how far did her lifestyle go? Like, how far did that darkness take over?
I can't imagine her just kind of stopping there.
She
had like dead people at the dinner table when
she like went full on. And so I'd love to see her story of like where that went. And
something I'll say about MaXXXine is it's a fun, cool, stylish film. If you're not a big horror fan, you might, definitely, even horror fans will wince at some of those kills, but it's largely just a fun, cool movie. And great acting, great characters. Everybody plays like a good character. They're all very unique. It probably the biggest compliment I can give to this movie is I've never seen a movie that made me want to watch The Big Lebowski. For some reason, something about the like mystery of this, the crime, I would never call The Big Lebowski a crime thriller, but it takes place in LA. The dude is being followed by this private detective. And so just those like elements, I was like, I feel like I want to watch The Big Lebowski now. And that's my favorite movie of all time. And I've never seen a movie that made me want to watch that movie. And so MaXXXine did it. And so can't really get much better than that in my book. So
talking about your favorite movie of all time. So
I came home and watched it like a couple days later.
Any movie that makes you feel like that deserves a 95, right? Or higher?
Well, I've never rated The Big Lebowski, so we haven't done that movie. It's not a horror film, so
no,
I haven't rated that one. But it would definitely be in the high 80s or high 90s.
High 90s. I think that being the best of all time, like your all-time favorite movie. Yeah, it has to be.
Yeah, I mean it's a perfect movie. So I could put it in 100.
I was referring
but he
to
was
MaXXXine.
Talking about MaXXXine.
Oh, you're talking about
MaXXXine. Making you want to watch your favorite movie of all time is like a 95 or above, right? That's
I mean, we'll see. We'll see when we rate it.
Yeah. Joel's trying to get us to rating.
I haven't decided on a rating.
Oh.
Okay. Now, Joel, you said this is the most rewatchable. Completely agree.
Of the three,
yeah, of the three, I think X and Pearl. I feel like you kind of have to be in the mood for. You kind of have to be wanting to watch a slower movie with the character development, and you kind of want to be in a place where I want to get invested in this movie.
That's why it's my least of the rewatchable ones, but it is technically like the best of the three movies. It's got like the style wise, acting wise, the story, like everything to me is better than MaXXXine and X, but it's just the rewatchability for me. Like it's number one overall but rewatchability, it has to be number 3.
Yeah, that's what's so weird about this trilogy is they're all so very different.
Yeah.
And so you kind of can, like, anybody's ranking, I can totally see. Like, you could mix these all around and have different rankings, and I can't argue with it because they're all very good and they're all very different. So, you know, it just depends on what kind of movie you prefer, what style of movie you prefer.
Yeah. And what era.
Yeah, what era kind of you can connect with and you
enjoy
really
and
like.
everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like really agree with you, Joel, though, too, on like X is 100. I mean, Pearl is 100%, like, I would say, the best overall of the trilogy. But rewatchability, I can totally see MaXXXine as like the top for rewatchability.
Yeah, it's the most fun.
Even X, rewatching that, it was really interesting rewatching that after seeing Pearl, and how much more than you notice after seeing Pearl. And how kind of it changes the movie a little bit. And so it's like fun to rewatch it with having that background.
Yeah.
And
it makes X better.
Yeah.
Having Pearl.
Yeah. And
watching
so
Pearl first makes X better?
Pearl almost makes X even more rewatchable.
Mm-hmm.
So while Pearl, I would say, is like the best of all three, it makes X more rewatchable than it
than it was initially. Yeah, like the scene in X where Pearl kills like her first victim, and which is the coolest kill I think of the whole franchise, where the blood is splattering on the headlights, and so it turns the whole thing red, the whole scene. After she kills him, she does like a little dance, like a little dance that Pearl did in Pearl.
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh yeah, they are throwing these little things in there, that connect to Pearl, and it makes you, because when I first saw X, I was like, okay, it's just this creepy old lady, obviously she has a little background with her, having to deal with, coming to, her elderly state and, not being young anymore, wanting to, be, in her youth, I guess.
Yeah. And she mentions being a dancer, but you don't connect with it the same way until you see Pearl, and then you're like, oh my, like, and you don't history. And you don't connect how desperately she wants to be young again until seeing her as Pearl. And you're like, oh.
Yeah. So I was wondering, like, would it have been better if Pearl came out first, then X, then MaXXXine? Or is it kind of better for X to come out first? Well, X and then Pearl and then MaXXXine.
Well, for a lot of people,
have gone chronological or kind
for
of
a lot of
forth?
Yeah, for a lot of people, X didn't need Pearl to be like their favorite movie of the year or whatever. That's my main issue with X, is that when it came out, it was a little bit overrated. People were saying how it was like the best movie of the year, and just like it was really good. But it kind of took a point or two away from me when I watched it, because it was good. I liked the 70s aesthetic and the 70s slasher of it. But I don't know. It wasn't. I don't even think on my list it was in my. It may have been my top 3 or 5, but yeah, it definitely wasn't like number 1. And like people were saying, it was the best horror movie in years or in decades or whatever. Like,
yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it was pretty hyped.
Yeah. But so it didn't need Pearl to kind of give it that boost for people.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're saying, after watching Pearl, it makes X better.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things that, you know, you still appreciate X, but maybe you like it a little bit more after the release of Pearl. I haven't watched Pearl and X. I haven't watched it in that order yet, so I might have to do
it.
Well, I mean, that's a good prequel.
Like
a good prequel is going to make the original better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, better than day one. Yeah. But
I kind of set that up.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. I think Pearl was as good as it was, partly because of having X first. I think having X first really gave you that desire to understand and learn about Pearl.
Mm-hmm.
And would Pearl have been so fascinating, and would you have such a desire to learn about her had it come out first and then been X?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I think that also it adds such creativity where you can have X standing by itself. You can have like such a good movie by itself.
You could have all
and
three
then,
of these,
and then you have Pearl that it doesn't, it's not needed, but it adds so much to X, even though X was already great by itself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then you have MaXXXine, where really you didn't need more, but watching it, it wasn't like, it was like, oh, awesome.
Yeah.
That was.
Yeah, it adds to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't a money grab. They actually had.
Oh, yeah. It had its place for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And they did a great job to me of tying in some subtleties within X that helped tie it into the whole trilogy and stick with, like, you can tell that it was well thought out. The entire trilogy was well thought out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't just like thrown in there like, oh, let's do this, or
Yeah, it was. It definitely had its theme across the entire 3 films. While each one is very different, it still fit. And it still had that underlying theme of fame and that like desire to be famous was across all 3 films.
And not just desire, but desperation.
Yeah.
Like,
it was like this or die.
And she says that at some point.
I will not accept a life I do not deserve, or something like that. Isn't that what it was?
That was one of them. But I was thinking of when Elizabeth says, like, do this as if your life depends on it. And she's like, it does.
Yeah.
Because she's desperate to succeed and get out of the life that she's in.
Yeah.
And, oh, gosh.
Yeah. Great. Just great stuff. So when I initially, heard about this and, X is so different, Pearl is so different, MaXXXine looks a lot different, I almost kind of have this feeling where it's like, can you really call it a trilogy? Because they're so different. Like when I think of trilogies, I think of like an ongoing story, same
That's
characters.
A saga.
Yeah, I mean,
and this is the same,
but they're
so
different. They're so different. MaXXXine's not in Pearl.
No, but Pearl
MaXXXine's
is,
in
and
X.
Pearl is in X.
Yeah, so that's where it's like, you're kind of, I don't know. like
Pearl connects X.
And X
connects MaXXXine.
And
MaXXXine will connect something else.
Yeah. And
it's just they all feel so different though.
Yeah.
But isn't that I think that's what makes it great.
Yeah, that's what makes it great, but I have a hard time thinking of it as a trilogy. You know, I mean it is. I'm not saying that it isn't, but it's a very different type of trilogy than what you're used to seeing as a trilogy.
Yeah.
It's a trilogy, like if you look at Halloween, well, I mean Halloween Kills and then you got Halloween Ends, so that's not really a trilogy either. If I'm going by those.
Well, you've got Halloween 2 and H2O. That's
that's a trilogy that is. Or if you go with Halloween 2018, and then Halloween Kills, like
there's so many different Halloween ways you could go with.
Let's find a different
different
trilogy.
franchises. Like Scream 1, 2, and 3. Like that can be a trilogy. It's got the same characters, the same killers, same,
I think that's the biggest difference. You can't have the same killer in MaXXXine as you have in Pearl and X.
Right.
Pearl and X have the same killer.
Yeah.
But you can't have that, obviously, in MaXXXine.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
It's a very
I mean, I think if you're watching the review of MaXXXine, hopefully you've seen X and Pearl already. Plus, we already spoiled Pearl pretty significantly.
in our
that was like scene for scene.
It's a different type of trilogy than what we typically get. It still is. It's just not what you're used to.
It's Ty West really showing off his directing and writing
skills.
Yeah.
We haven't seen a trilogy like this. At least in order. I mean, I can't think of anything that would be considered a trilogy that is so different for every film and takes place in very different times and has very unique styles to each one. It's just
I'm so excited to see more Ty West stuff because after this I'm like he could be one of my top faves.
I mean, I think he's cemented himself in the modern horror,
I've seen one of his older stuff and it's not great. So like his earlier stuff might be a little on the iffy side as far as like it's not going to be up to this trilogy par.
Which one did you see?
I've seen House of the Devil.
Yeah, I think I've seen that too.
Total B horror movie.
Yeah.
That Western might actually be good. I don't know. I haven't checked that. I haven't even heard of that one. Valley of Violence or whatever.
Okay, so the House of the Devil, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Did he write and direct that one?
I think he wrote and directed that one. I think he's written and directed most of the stuff he's done.
Okay. Yeah, I'd be curious, and I'm excited to see more.
I think we have watched that together.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's like this woman gets like a gig, like either babysitting or like house sitting or something. If I'm remembering it correctly. Is that kind of the setup, Joel?
It's been years since I've seen it. I don't really remember it at all.
Okay.
I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind reviewing some of his.
Well, maybe we'll have to watch that and review it and kind of compare what Ty West, like what did we see that was like Ty West, and what did we see that he's like improved on?
Yeah.
We can analyze Ty West.
We can.
We could.
Maybe we'll just have to invite him on the show.
That was right. It would have been easier to do it before this trilogy.
Yeah.
I wonder how much this is gonna make. I hope it's very successful. I know horror fans were really excited for this, really looking forward to it. But we'll see. We'll see how much it makes.
Horror doesn't typically usually do too well And when this probably had a bigger budget than Pearl and X put together, just to get like the actors that it got in this movie. So yeah, I'm hoping it's gonna do really well. I'm not sure what it's.
Okay, it says the third entry in Ty West's X saga, which they call it a saga.
Which means it could. Well, he's got ideas for another one, so it could always go on.
MaXXXine opened in 4th place to an estimated 6.7 million and 7.8 million globally.
That's it?
Yeah.
Is that just for
that's like
day
15,
or is this the whole weekend?
That's like 15 million, I think, right there. Because it
just says opened, so
okay.
It just opened. Like it's only really been out for a weekend. So at time of recording this. Because you said it made 6 million locally and then 7 million globally. So
6.7 million.
16 million in the first weekend isn't horrible for horror.
I think that's combined. I think the 7.8 is combined.
Globally.
Oh, is it combined?
Combined including local.
Well, it says 6.7 million and 7.8 million globally. So
it could be. Yeah, it could be either way. But anyways, I hope it does well. It's rated R, so it's gonna definitely get a little less audience than a PG-13 horror film would typically
and it's gonna you don't have to see Pearl for this, but you kind of do have to see X. And so
X is important to see before this.
The horror fans that have watched both of them will definitely watch this, but you're not gonna get your like average movie watcher to probably watch MaXXXine if they haven't especially if they haven't seen X. So
this says more specifically 6.7 million in the United States and Canada and 1.1 million in other territories for a worldwide total of 7.8 million.
Okay. Well, that's not great.
It was projected to gross around 7 million from projected to gross around 7 million from 2,200 theaters in its opening weekend.
Oh, so 2,200 theaters?
Guess so.
I feel like that's not that much.
No.
And that's as of July 7th. So
okay.
So
I'm surprised my theater
it was projected for 7 million and it made 7.8 million.
Yeah.
So they at least they aren't too far off of their projection of what they wanted to make.
Yeah, definitely.
I wonder what I was going to say, because, they made X and Pearl,
back to
back. So there was, one budget for those, but they made this one by itself. So I wonder what the budget was for this. But if it was projected to make that, then that sounds like they're on track to get their money back. So or at least hopefully make a profit off of it.
So there's a mystery to this film. There's a killer. Is it the Night Stalker? Is it somebody else? We'll tell you in the spoilers. But did you guys like who the killer ended up being? I will say it was predictable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
definitely.
It was definitely predictable.
Joel had mentioned something.
Stop! Don't spoil.
In his predictions.
Yes, but that is.
He mentioned a lot of things.
Oh,
I said
he
a
mentioned
lot.
Something in his predictions that is a part of this film. So
yeah, it is.
I'm happy about that. I'm glad that was a part of it. I don't know if I like the predictability of it.
With it,
yeah, but
I will.
It didn't really take away from the movie, though.
I do no, it didn't take away from it. I do think it was predictable, but I do like how they went about it. which we will talk about in our spoiler section. But yeah, I mean, I guess it could have. I don't know. It could have been worse of a. I don't know. It was definitely predictable, but it's whatever. It wasn't.
There
like,
was
that's
no
not the big part of.
Yeah,
like
there was no like red herring. Like there was no. Like, oh, could it be that person?
Yeah.
Could it be that? Like, I feel like you weren't really trying to guess who the killer was throughout.
It wasn't really like
it wasn't
a
like
mystery.
a whodunit.
Yeah,
but it was at the same time. You just weren't focused on that. Like in Scream and other, whodunit.
You're trying to figure out who the killer.
You're trying to figure it out.
Yeah,
and they're trying to make it look like it's all the different characters.
Well,
and in this one, you just don't have that. And that's fine.
You don't need it. Like it didn't.
Yeah. I think the only thing is like I was kind of looking for and waiting for there to be a little bit more coming from one of the characters.
Oh,
okay.
So mysterious. All right.
Yeah, I'll say that because I don't want to spoil anything.
Yeah. All right, I'll have to remember to ask you about that.
Yeah. Right, ratings.
Okay, yeah, let's rate it.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, Katrina, you go first.
I
went first for the last one.
So. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know what I've rated the other two. I hope that I've rated them very.
You didn't
high.
rate them at all because you weren't on those episodes.
No, you weren't. Yeah. We did Pearl by ourselves. I think we did X by ourselves
before
too.
that. Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah.
You weren't
a part of it then.
You hadn't invited me into the show yet.
Yeah. So I mean, you can give your ratings for those now. That's fine.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give this one a 96.
Jeez. Okay.
I'll give X 97.
Wow. Okay.
You're perfect. And you liked Pearl
because
more,
I think
so
yeah, because I think that
you're perfect.
MaXXXine, although I liked MaXXXine, I enjoyed it a lot. I still think that I would put X just a tiny bit above it.
I'm kind of surprised by that.
Yeah, I know. I am too. I was surprised to like X because of the premise of like, you wouldn't think that I would like that, but
we didn't get our first kill for like the first hour of the movie. In that movie.
And then I'm gonna put Pearl. I should give Pearl like because I gave like what's that movie? Night with the Devil, Late Night with the Devil. I gave that like 100.
Really?
I was in a really good mood.
I don't think I gave it 100.
You don't?
No, but it was high 90s.
Oh, okay. Well, if I didn't give that one 100, then I'll give Pearl a 98.
Okay.
So I'll just go like that. 96, 98.
Okay. So you go Pearl, X MaXXXine.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So for me, I'll kind of agree with you, I think, for this one at 96. I don't think I gave Pearl or X in the 90s. I can't remember. Maybe, but not as high as MaXXXine. I think this is the most rewatchable, the most fun. However, like you guys said, I don't think it's the best movie. So my ranking, so hard to rank these. Man, I don't know how to rank these. I think I'm gonna go Pearl X MaXXXine or Pearl MaXXXine X. I don't know. It's so hard.
So,
it's so hard.
What would make you put MaXXXine above X?
It's more fun. It's more fun.
Okay.
Yeah, it's more rewatchable, more fun.
So you have to do
but I like X for horror. Like okay. I like that's the horror ranking. I'm gonna put X.
Yeah. So you have to have the different ratings like Joel.
Yeah.
Because if I'm gonna go rewatchability, I would probably do
that's how I typically rate
X
rate
and
movies.
Pearl.
Yeah.
But I can't put Pearl at the bottom of this.
Yeah.
Like, no.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's exactly
not.
why I need 2 rankings for mine.
Yeah.
Because Pearl is, I mean, they're all, it is a really great trilogy, but I feel really bad having Pearl at the bottom of the list of like, as far as, so like rewatchability, it is at the bottom. I would probably go MaXXXine, Pearl, or MaXXXine X and Pearl. But as far as like the movies that I like the most, Pearl is number 1. It is technically a perfect movie. Like, it's just, the acting is the best that we've seen in this trilogy. I love the 1918 look about it, and it's everything about it is better to me than the other 2. So as far as what I like most, I would go Pearl, probably MaXXXine, and X. But rewatch it. Yeah, Pearl's at the bottom of my rewatchability, unfortunately.
So what are you going to rate MaXXXine?
MaXXXine, I'm going to give a 94 because I'm pretty sure I gave Pearl and X both in the 90s. And I think I gave Pearl a slightly higher score. That one might have been like 95 or 96 for me. But yeah, so I was a 94, I'd say.
94. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So 94 for MaXXXine.
Yeah.
And then you think you did 95 or 96 for Pearl?
Pearl. Yeah.
What did you give X?
I don't remember. I think it was in the lower 90s, but it was definitely still in the 90s. Okay. It may have even been around 94. Because I mean, that's the thing too. Like, MaXXXine is slightly more rewatchable than X to me, but it's still like I could also watch X anytime too. So it's not.
It's so hard.
It is.
Yeah.
Try to make a choice on these. Depends on your mood. Depends on what kind of movie you want to get into.
Yeah.
I think X is the scariest as far as horror goes. X
Well,
is
that's what I was gonna say. Is
Yeah.
like, I think the reason why I put X a little bit above MaXXXine is the slasher part.
Yeah.
Is just so like, and the way that they did the scenes, like you said, that like how they like, I don't even know how to say it, like read it out, you know, the screen with the and they did that in Pearl too. I almost want to give Pearl an even higher score than 98. I'm like, I feel like it needs like a 99.
Give it 100.
I know it is like, and I almost am like, maybe I would like rewatching that one. Even maybe it is more rewatchable than I'm thinking. Because man, I would go watch that right now while we're talking about it.
Yeah.
I'm only giving one thing 100, so you can give something 100 too.
Yeah.
All right. We have given a lot of review on this, and we haven't gotten into spoilers. So we're going to go do that now on Patreon. So patreon.com/scaretalk. Make sure you go there. We're going to talk about all the fun scenes and stuff from this. There's a few to definitely mention. And yeah.
All right, let's get scary.
Yeah. All right. See you guys.
Yeah.